Howdy. So we're going to start the code now. If you already know what you're doing and you do not want me to explain any of this to you, just want to get to the code and keep it pushing, there is a file that you can download and you can just copy, paste it, and just see if everything's working for you and move on with your life. If, as I said, you're a beginner and you don't know what's going on and you just want to be able to read this stuff a little bit better, I'm going to walk you through our simple little application. So as you can see on my screen, I deleted a bunch of stuff and kind of got down to the bare minimum. Here we have a package. Packages, kind of like libraries. These are extra pieces of information, code. Maybe you have your own library you want to add, whatever it is. These are things that you can put together with your application so that it can run. So the package is com.we-got-next. Remember, that was our group ID. And as you can see over here, that is also the name. So anything inside of this com.we-got-next package that we need to add, so maybe it's like proprietary source code of some sort, we can put it in the package and package it all together and make everything run. So that's what the package is. It's kind of like an import statement. Now, moving on from that, we have a public class app. Let's just start with public class app. A class. Classes are like blueprints. I am going to base all of this information on what you're seeing right here, just so that you understand what a class is and how we would typically use a class. Now, this particular class is not like your normal classes or the classes that you're going to create for your own applications, right? This is a very special class. This is the main class that is needed in order to make the entire application run. So it's a little bit special, but since if this is the first time you're seeing something like this, I'm going to use this information to explain the concept, okay? So, classes are like blueprints. And think about blueprints, well, like a blueprint, like you have a bunch of houses, cookie cutter houses, they have one single blueprint, built the same type of house over and over and over again. Every time they create a new house, you can call that in computer science an instance of that class or an instance of that blueprint that we had, right? So typically, when you're using your classes, you're creating an instance of that class, and that instance is called an object. Okay, we're going to create this. We're going to take this object, and we can then use that object to do things. And like I said, you can create multiple instances or multiple objects using this class as a blueprint. When you write your code, usually, this is how you would write it. You have app, right? That is the name of my class. The name of my class is called app. You give it a name. So in this case, I have a variable name, and you set it equal to something. What you're effectively doing, is you're taking all of the information of this class, of this blueprint, and you're putting all of that information into this variable name, right? So that we can use this variable name multiple times throughout our app. Okay. So again, we have our app, our class name, which is app. We create a variable name that we can put everything into so we can use it again. And then we set that all equal to a new, this is a keyword, a new instance of this blueprint or of this app class or of this app object. Okay, again, app, class, that's the name that we gave it. We create a variable name to store a new instance of this new object that we're making. Okay. Once we do that, right, as you can see, when we look inside our class, we have a method. This method, these are all keywords, these orange things. The method name, this light orange, is called main. Okay. In order to call methods inside your class, once you take that copy of it and you put it inside this variable name, you can then say variable name dot and then main, right? Because that was our method. And when you do that, whatever information you put inside this main method right here will run. Okay, it's going to execute whatever you tell it to do. Dear God, I hope that made sense. This is literally a crash course in all of this information. That is how classes normally work, okay? But as I stated, this is a special kind of class. This is the main class that you're going to be using to run all of your code. As a result, one of the keywords in front of this main class is called static. What that means is when your compiler is like, when you say, okay, I want you to run this app and your compiler is running this code, it doesn't have to do all of the stuff that we have right here. Okay? Everything right here, it doesn't have to do that. That's stuff that you normally have to do when you're creating your own classes. Instead, what the compiler will do, will just say, okay, I have the app, right, dot main. It doesn't need to put it into a variable name. It doesn't need to create another instance of that object, right? All it has to do is to go to app.main, very similar to what we did up here, right, with the variable.main. But instead of creating this new object and putting it into this variable name, you can just call app.main and it'll run your application. So that's fundamentally what's happening here. That's why this class is so important and why it's a static method is so that when your compiler runs it, all it has to do is call app.main and whatever is inside of this thing will run. So let's run some simple code system dot out dot print line. And in here, we're just going to print out a message to the terminal. My application is running. Cool. Now, in your IDE, in the IntelliJ IDE, in your IDE somewhere there is a run button that you can use to run your application. Down here, we have our terminal, because that's where anytime you do the system.out.println messages or any type of log messages, it's going to show up in your terminal. So make sure your terminal is open for your IDE. You're going to click run. And as you can see, it runs everything, and then the output is my application is running. So that's what happened. Your application can run using this void main